can play this video.
The machine, which normally you can't do, but we can because we disabled Hans. While standing right on the ledge of the ring below the hole, Shift will use Bubble Bowl to throw a bubble into the hole. When Shift throws the bubble, it'll get stuck so perfectly that we continually hit the bullseye and rake in the shiny objects. We'll use this to get enough shiny objects to last us the rest of the speedrun as we purchase things like spatulas from Mr. Krabs and open some areas of levels. This glitch, which again is called SBA, will continue on if we walk away, so we can use this time to explore the level and complete some other objectives because we have a short laundry list to knock out. The first thing that we're going to do is make like Chaz Michaels and skate on this slippery platform where Shift will destroy a Duplicatotron to get a sock. And yeah, that obnoxious sound in the background is SBA. Blessing and a curse, I guess. Just be thankful that I was able to turn the volume of it way down in post. Next, Shift has to act like Joseph Gordon-Levitt to walk along some banners in order to climb up a tower. The point of interest at the top of this tower is a fishing hook that we're going to use to bungee jump. Or I guess this game's version of bungee jumping, which seems more like a punishment for SpongeBob. Once we dive off of the platform, we can collect the golden spatula that's hovering over the water. After we collect this spatula, there's one more spatula on the pier that's laying around that we're going to collect right now, and it usually requires us to play as Patrick. What we're supposed to do is use a freezy fruit to freeze the goo under the pier and then walk on the ice to get the spatula. Instead of that, we're going to lick a slide to build up some speed and jump off at a specific point to fly underneath the pier and land on the platform with the spatula. Being on this platform will put us far enough away from the skee ball machine that SBA will stop due to objects despawning, and hop into the goo to end ourselves and spawn back on the pier at that invisible Wakatiki checkpoint we hit earlier as Patrick. Respawning stops SBA as a whole, even if we get back into range of it. Sponges are bottom feeders though, so once we spawn we're going to immediately go back underneath the pier. There we'll destroy 16 Tiki heads that are part of the Wakatiki game, which will reward us with a sock, which is a fair compromise for us just vanishing from existence in the goo when the camera pans back to us.
So I kind of want just to hide it refresh.
Once we collect the sock, we'll immediately warp back to Mr. Krabs to claim our spatula for clearing out the bumper boats area earlier.
Oof. Now I want that anti-stropic.
Shift is then going to warp back to Sandy's dream inside of SpongeBob's dream. Here, we'll immediately leap into a box to teleport across the stage and then make things totally tubular by riding our shell across the level to go to the Little Alamo. As we surf along, Shift will jump to cut corners as much as possible to save small bits of a second here and there. When we arrive at the Little Alamo, we're going to speak with the little local business owner, after speaking to whom we'll spend 2,800 shiny objects to open up a pathway composed of a bunch of Texan doorknobs. Shift will then Spider-Man his way on over to a big Alamo, utilizing a damage boost along the way to speed up his swinging. This skips one prolonged part where we'd have to use our lasso as helicopter blades. We still have to helicopter at the end though to reach the floating Alamo Island. There, we're going to skate around on the grounds of a former BP worksite, destroying all the robots that are here. When moseying about this area, Shift will be jumping on top of the Thunder Tikis to ignite them and clear out any robots near him without having to focus on them. Once Shift clears out the final robot, the golden spatula will appear out of nowhere, but rumor has it that it was stashed away in the basement of the Alamo. This is a pretty dumb rumor though, because everyone knows that there is no basement at the Alamo. After grabbing the spatula, we're going to quickly helicopter to behind the Alamo and grab one of Patrick's socks, and honestly, I'm really starting to wonder just how he scattered his socks to such extreme places. We're then going to go back to SpongeBob's dream proper, where we're going to damage boost to grab another spatula, using the Bubble Bowl ability to move ourselves onto a spike. All the spikes on the boxes have individual hitboxes, and we have to damage boost off of a specific one to launch up to the platform to grab the spatula. We only had 1/60th of a second to input the jump after taking damage. At the very beginning of the game, we received a fax from Mr. Krabs saying he would give us golden spatulas in exchange for shiny objects, which will now do a total of 8 times to spend the majority of our shiny objects. If you listen closely, you can tell that the voice actor for Mr. Krabs in the game is different than the voice actor for Mr. Krabs in the show. Anyways, here's 3 quick facts about the run and some movement fundamentals that are utilized. A super basic one, but the longer you hold down the jump button, the higher you jump. This is fairly common in platformers, but it bears mentioning that it exists in this game too. Second is that you're able to jump for up to 15 frames after you walk off of a ledge. This is referred to by the community as coyote jumping, and it lets you increase the distance you jump off of a platform by walking a bit farther before you jump, and was actually also a part of the Sekiro run we covered a few months ago. Lastly is spin stalling, where if you spin attack while you're in air, it will slightly extend your jump by temporarily stalling your descent. Utilizing these three mechanics as well as some others to extend your jumps and span gaps is usually called jump spacing. Once we finish buying all the spatulas from Imposter Crabs, we hit a button to spawn a bunch of boxes that we're supposed to climb on. We're instead going to head over to a nearby fountain and double jump to get on top of it, smacking it with our attack on the way up to spawn a sock. For the floating boxes, we largely skip them by just jumping onto the lip of one of them and then using the bubble bounce ability to keep our footing and leap up to a higher one. From this one, we're able to easily reach the top of a building that has a spatula on it. We follow this up with a textbook example of jump spacing to land on the nearby taxi pad to take us to Sand Mountain. To start Sand Mountain, SpongeBob tells Squidward he needs to borrow his toothbrush again. Yes, really? And we're off to grab our first sock of the level by mercilessly destroying a finely constructed a sand man. So, Sand Mountain is structured a bit differently than other levels. Pretty much, there are 3 different mountains for us to snowboard down, if snowboarding is even the right word for it. Whatever you want to call it, it does sound like SpongeBob is really enjoying licking this much sand.
You've just met the Sponginator.
Anyways, at each of the 3 mountains, there's a time trial, and if you beat the goal time, then you get a golden spatula. On this mountain track, the Guppy Mound, there are several socks to collect, and right here, Shift does a skip by jumping through several rocks. This skip is only possible due to the fact that we disabled Hans the Hand near the beginning of the run by way of the hand disable glitch. If we hadn't done the hand disable glitch, then we'd be yoinked out of the air and brought back to the track by Hans himself. Also, whenever we need to begin a slide, like at the top of the track or after collecting the final sock, Shift uses Bubble Bowl as soon as he steps onto the track. You'll see that right here after we collect this sock. The reason for this is that sliding in the Bubble Bowl animation accelerates the sponge faster than the normal sliding animation. Once we reach the bottom of the Guppy Mound, we'll then be in a combat arena that we need to clear to get another golden spatula. Clearing the area consists of destroying both Duplicatotrons and hitting the buttons behind them to destroy a nearby fence with a sand ball. With the fence destroyed, we can collect the golden spatula and then use our imagination again to use a box to warp back to the top of the mountain. There we'll speak with Mrs. Puff, who will give us a golden spatula for beating her elite time on the Guppy Mound. For now we're done with Sand Mountain, so we're gonna hop back to Bikini Bottom near Imposter Crabs and enter Shady Shoals Rest Home, where Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy reside. Inside, we're going to hit the TV to change the channel, which will reward us with a sock on a nearby checkerboard, after which we'll interact with Mermaid Man to enter the Merma Lair. Also, true fact and lore deep dive, Mermaid Man gets cold easily, so he uses a seashell bikini to hide his cold, hard nips that are weirdly far apart. In the Merma Lair, we're going to be performing a few big skips. First though, we're going to be entering a cutscene in a moment, so as we enter it, Shift is going to use the Bubble Bowl ability, since it has forward movement to it, letting us move a bit farther forward even when we aren't in control. Shift will then perform something called Lobby Skip. This skips most of the lobby area by doing 2 full jumps to grab the ledge of a nearby platform in a specific spot, which lets us grab the golden spatula here a lot earlier than intended. After this, Shift is going to interact with a toll gate to enter a new area, using the Bubble Bowl ability again to move us forward faster for a moment. This brings us to the Merma Lair main chamber, which doesn't really have the most efficiently designed layout for a workspace. By the way, you can also use the Bubble Bowl animation to boost yourself off of platforms like here, which is something called bowl boosting. After damage boosting and bubble bashing to grab a sock, we'll then use a bus stop to switch from the Sponge to Dirty Dan. In this next part, Mermaid Man's TV is broken, so we're going to fix it for him. The way we do this is by activating 3 nearby funnel machines with watermelons. Common sense stuff, really. This segment is actually pretty realistic, where a strange looking repairman comes into your home and does some really weird things that you don't quite understand, and in the end they make a mess. The only inaccuracies here compared to my real life experience is that the repairman in this game is wearing his pants too high on his waist. While we have a moment, if you've played this game before, you may be curious how Shift and other speedrunners are able to menu so quickly. Normally you just use the left analog stick to move up and down in the menu when selecting spatulas, but it turns out though that the right analog stick can also be used to move around in the menu. By pressing both sticks in an alternating fashion, you can menu twice as quickly. After spending some shiny objects on a clam, which is one of Patrick's favorite pastimes, we collect the spatula and then launch ourselves on the seesaw springboard we just unlocked via the clam. This is going to bring us to Barnacle Boy, who has a task for us where we have to activate all the cylinders to generate some power. The task is a pretty simple one compared to the others, as we just go around in a circle, body slamming all the switches in order, which gives us a bit of time to explain something else real quick. So whenever we collect a spatula, we have to be sure to not double jump and land on top of the spatula, because it'll delay the animation of collecting the spatula. This is similar to the trick we did earlier called Sponge Ball Storage, where double jumping delayed the animation of the power-up. Also, bubble bowling into a spatula loses time as well. Back to the run, when we grab the spatula and watch Patrick do a face plant, we hit a button for a spatula later on, and we're then going to perform a trick called main chamber skip. By walking into the corner of the slide at a specific angle, Patrick will get stuck in the corner and build up speed. When we release from the corner, we jump off of the edge of the slide, performing 2 full jumps to hit a trigger to enter the villain containment system, skipping to the final boss of the Murmelair. As soon as we enter the villain containment system, we obtain the warp for here and just turn around and exit. We're going to come back to the boss at a later time once we have a new ability that will help us finish it faster. This puts us at the intended exit of the main chamber, where we just quickly enter the Murmelair security tunnel. We're going to be performing a series of tricks that make up security tunnel skip, which begins with jumping onto a texture in the wall to let us jump again to reach the ledge above us. We then bubble bash up to get hit by electricity, letting us double jump on the turret to reach the top floor. Here we bowl once to hit a button in the pet carrying crate, and then avoid the Burt Reynolds bot to grab a golden spatula. From here, we can progress to the rolling ball area, where imposter crabs will be waiting for us. Getting ahead of what's on screen for a bit, Shift will speak to crabs quickly to get the warp for later on, and then hit the third of 4 buttons for an upcoming spatula. After that, Shift is then going to go get a hidden sock in the area, and while he does that, it's worth mentioning that most of the levels in this game have a total of 8 golden spatulas, although you may have already noticed that. The only ones that don't are the Poseidome and Industrial Park, which both are boss fight levels and only have 1 spatula, as well as the Chump Bucket Lab, which is the final level and has 2 spatulas. The number of socks in each level though varies greatly. Anyways, once we're done here, we make our way back to the main chamber, where we'll grab a spatula that's just sitting there ripe for the picking. After the celebration, we'll turn around and hit the 4th and final button to shut down the security system, for which the Murmelair computer will reward us with a spatula. This gives us 6 of the 8 spatulas in the Murmelair, but we'll be back later for the other 2 once we have an ability which lets us get them quickly. For now, we're going to return to Bikini Bottom and speak with Patrick to exchange another 10 socks for a golden spatula. After we've made the black market trade, we'll then enter Patrick's Rock. Here we perform some more casual destruction of private property to get another sock before then dipping out of this musty cave that probably smells like a teenager's room. The odor isn't much of a surprise though. I mean, we've all seen how these socks pretty much stand up straight on their own. Our next immediate goal is to clear out the Krusty Krab, which will give us the 8th and final golden spatula in the Bikini Bottom hub area that's obtainable via objectives. Now, there's a lot going on during this fight, including manipulating enemy AI to make them miss their missile throws, Tiki heads getting pushed up to the upper level before blowing up, and triggering Tiki heads by bowling on narrow platforms. Pretty much, this is the SpongeBob equivalent of the nightclub scene in John Wick. Also, what I meant a moment ago when I said this is the final spatula in the Bikini Bottom hub, I meant that it's the final spatula in this area that we collect rather than buy from Imposter Crabs or Patrick, since if we counted those, there would be way more than 8 to collect in this area. Once every robot has been cleared out, Shift causes a bit more destruction inside on his way to collect another sock, and follows that up by warping outside to grab the final Bikini Bottom hub world spatula. From here, we're going to activate the toll gate, which will bring us to Industrial Park, the location of the next big boss fight, Robo Patrick. Because of how we sequence broke the hub, we actually enter the toll gate from behind, which I highly advise you don't try to do in real life on the highway.
Yikes! Looks like SpongeBob's in for a rough ride.
This fight is much more of an underground street fight than the big budget, kayfabe-filled affair that was the Poseidome fight against Robo Sandy. Like the Robo Sandy fight though, this fight has 3 phases to it. During the first phase, we play as SpongeBob and it's incredibly straightforward. We have to deal damage to the robot 3 times by using the Bubble Bowl ability to hit its rump after it performs a spin attack. Pretty much phase 1 is just shift killing time, waiting for the Oogie Boogie lookalike to begin the spin attack. Once the attack starts though, we just count to 10 because the attack lasts exactly 10 seconds, and then we wind up a bubble to hit its rear when it stops. Once we do that 3 times, we'll move on to phase 2 where we play as the Nut Lover. Oh, and by the way, the green goo in the perimeter of this area doesn't deal any damage to us, it only boosts us back to where we were standing when we jumped in. So that's why Shift can just jump on it repeatedly to practice his frame-perfect jumps in the meantime. So if you look above us right now, you see those flying Texas doorknobs above the stage that we swung on earlier in Sandy's dream? They're technically called swing hooks, but most people just refer to them as Texas swingers. When we play as Sandy, we're going to utilize them in a new piece of tech called swing stalling. Whenever we lasso the Texas swingers here, it causes boxes to fall into the center of the arena by the robot. This comes in handy because RoboPatrick will eventually spawn goo in the center of the arena, so we can't walk on the ground there, but we can jump on the boxes since they float. By continually lassoing the Texas swingers, it will continually spawn boxes in the arena, making it safer for us later, and it will also keep us off the ground and safe from the robot's attacks. We're going to be performing this a lot throughout this phase. When RoboPatrick performs its spin attack again, we have a window to kick its back to deal damage. Once we do that, then the robot will begin to perform a vomit attack, which normally lasts a few seconds. If we instead take damage from it immediately, then Oogie Boogie will stop attacking almost immediately and move on to its next series of actions. This is called Vomit Skip, and the next instance of it is coming up in a second. After we damage the robot for a 3rd time, it's going to raise the goo level even further and bring us to phase 3 where we play as the sponge again. While phase 2 finishes playing out though, I'd just like to say thank you to those of you who continue to support the channel, and I hope you're all doing well and staying healthy during these crazy times. If you're having a hard time, just remember that no feeling is final. No matter how overwhelmed you may feel, you'll still be here tomorrow and you can get through this. Back to the fight, right at the start of phase 3, RoboPatrick will go for another vomit, so Shift will vomit skip again by practically shoving the sponge down its throat. Phase 3 is pretty much one big manipulation of the robot's AI. The robot has a pattern of blowing frost breath that we have to jump over, licking its ice cream and spitting goo at us, and then doing its 10-second long spin attack. The location where the robot ends up at when it finishes the spin attack depends on where you are when it begins the attack. By standing in a back corner when the robot starts to spin, then the robot will finish spinning and be open to our attack from either the main platform in the level that we spawn on, or a conveyor belt on the far side from the corner we originally stood in when it started spinning. After Shift stands in a corner during the spin startup, he begins running to the general location of where the robot will end up. As the robot's attack winds down, Shift is able to gauge where in the possible area it'll be attackable from, and will bravely bowl a bubble at the bot's back. This whole AI manipulation process is done a total of 3 times to end phase 3 and the fight as a whole. Once we deliver the 3rd and final hit, the fight will come to an end and we'll be given the golden spatula for the fight, even though we don't get to see the spatula. The big thing that we get from this fight though isn't the golden spatula. It's a new ability called Cruise Bubble, where we launch a bubble torpedo that we can steer around and blow up. The reason why this is big is because it lets us perform what's probably the most important speed tech of the entire run, cruise boosting. After we do some bubble bowl shenanigans to enter the sponge's library quickly, watch how Shift throws out some cruise bubbles into the wall, and then has a ton of forward momentum when he jumps off of the trampoline to grab the floating sock. This is cruise boosting. I'll explain it in a moment, but it'll take a while because there's a lot to it. In the meantime, we're going to be returning to Sand Mountain to obtain the remaining spatulas and socks there, which will contain a lot of insane movement thanks to cruise boosting. Now, what exactly is cruise boosting, other than a glitch that takes an already insane platforming speedrun and cranks it up to 11? I'm going to try and be succinct because there's a lot in Sand Mountain that needs explaining as well. First off, when you walk forward normally in this game, you have a movement speed of about 5 units. The Bubble Bowl ability also has a forward movement to it, as we've seen before in bowl boosting. That bowling movement speed is about the same as whatever your walking speed was when you used the ability, albeit fractions faster, but for now, we'll just ballpark it at peaking at around 5 units as well. On the first frame of using the Bubble Bowl ability, you have both your walking speed and your bowling speed, which stack and will top out at around 10 units. This only lasts one frame though. Pretty much your total move speed at any point is your walking speed plus your bowling speed, but the bowling speed is 0 unless you're using the ability. However, if you use the bowling ability and a cruise bubble at the same time, then your bowling speed gets locked in at whatever value it was on the frame you used the abilities. So if we do it when we're walking at full speed, then it'll get locked in at 5 units and we'll have a permanent walking speed bonus of 5 units. That's the basics of cruise boosting. Whenever we cruise boost though, we have to be facing a wall to set it up. This is because we can't use a cruise bubble if we're moving and have to face a wall to negate our movement. This may sound contradictory because we want to be moving to have our bowling speed be equal to our max walking speed, but we can actually move sideways while against the wall, and the cruise boost will convert our horizontal movement to cruise boost speed. There's really a lot to it, and Shift has an any% tutorial on his YouTube channel that has an entire section dedicated to explaining cruise boosting that you should check out if you're interested. Link is in the description. In short, what you need to know is that cruise boosting makes it so that we will always have a set value of speed added on in addition to our movement, meaning that if we walk at a speed of 5 units normally, that will increase to 5 plus whatever our cruise boost speed is. This also applies to when we're standing still and also using other abilities like Bubble Bounce. This means that platforming just got a lot more complex because we now have the ability to extend our jumps even farther with our increased speed and our abilities that now have forward momentum to them. Also, the Bubble Bash ability, the one where we jump up with the Viking helmet, now is pretty much a super jump and lets us reach places that we aren't supposed to be able to climb to. The effects of cruise boosting can be removed by either using the Bubble Bowl ability again, taking damage, touching goo, losing all our health, or switching characters. Losing the effects isn't necessarily a bad thing though, and we'll do it on purpose at times. Anyways, I think that's enough for explaining cruise boosting for now. We've already seen Shift perform cruise boosting a lot during this explanation, but I'll put a countdown on screen the next time he's about to perform another normal one. I said normal one because right here, Shift is going to perform a variation on cruise boosting, which is referred to as a ledge cruise boost. This is performed by sliding off of a rock and performing a cruise boost on the same frame as initially falling off. This converts Shift's vertical momentum from falling into his cruise boosted speed, letting him tear up the tracks. This isn't the first variation on cruise boosting we've performed at Sand Mountain though. You may have noticed that the cruise boost we did in this level on the track where we were destroying the Sandmen was insanely fast compared to normal as well. That one was a cruise boost variation called a displacement cruise boost. Shift used the Bubble Bowl ability to ramp a bubble off of a rock and then positioned himself where the bubble landed. By then cruise boosting on the exact frame the bubble hit him and displaced him to the side, the speed from the displacement was captured and transferred into cruise boost speed. This is how our Sandman rampage was both incredibly fast and visceral. Both displacement cruise boosting and ledge cruise boosting are incredibly hard tricks, and while possible in many places, they're typically overkill. Both variations are really tough tricks that require perfect timing, but the rewards are enormous. For cruise boosting in general, I just want to emphasize that part of the end result is that our base movement speed is no longer 0, so even if we aren't touching the analog stick at all, we're still going to move forward. You'll see this a lot throughout the run from here on out, but especially whenever we collect a spatula. The big upside to it though, as I mentioned earlier, is that our other abilities now have forward movement to them. That means that you'll be seeing us use the Bubble Bounce ability, the one where we have big bubble feet, used a lot throughout the rest of the run to extend our jump spacing, as well as using the Bubble Bash ability in a similar fashion. Back to the run, with 7 of the 8 spatulas here collected, we use our imagination to go to the top of the slopes and talk with my boy Larry to collect our final spatula, and man, he's just so happy for us again. Having finished up Sand Mountain, we'll now be warping to the Murmelair to get the final 2 spatulas and socks. Right away, Shift is going to perform a cruise boost to build up his speed, and then do some platforming off of a stalagmite to make a jump to a tunnel where we'll collect a sock. Immediately after collecting the sock, Shift is going to warp to another location in the Murmelair and perform another cruise boost. There are both fast and slow cruise boosts, and we want a fast one here, but Shift got a slow one, which is why he threw out a Bubble Bowl since it cancels cruise boosting, allowing him to then perform it again to get the fast version. We then use a box to go across the stage and do a bubble bash to jump up and grab another sock. We're now going to take care of the Murmelair boss that we left hanging a long time ago by use of a tech called L-clipping. By pressing the left trigger while cruise boosting, we initiate frames with no collision during the cruise bubble animation, which makes it so we can clip through walls in tight spaces. Here we jumped above the boss arena and activated the fight's final cutscene via a developer debug trigger left in the out of bounds area. The final spatula in the Murmelair involves a tech called L-bowling, where Shift will wedge himself between the glass case the spatula is in and a nearby pillar and perform the cruise boost inputs, and the sponge's model doesn't have enough space to perform the cruise bubble animation, so instead does the bubble bowl animation. This still gives us frames with no collision from the cruise bubble animation and lets us clip through the glass case. This skip alone saves almost 2 minutes compared to collecting the spatula as intended, and was one of the most technically complex skips in the entire run due to requiring 2 inputs on the same exact frame, but not just any frame, but the exact frame that Shift got pushed out of the tight space between the case and the pillar, and it also required precise analog stick angles. Oh, and by the way, this game runs at 60 frames per second. Anyways, here at Goo Lagoon, the first of the 2 spatulas we need to get here is obtained by making sure that Mrs. Puff doesn't get hit with any child endangerment charges by saving the 5 children who are floating away with balloons. It makes sense that we would wait until after we can cruise boost to rescue the kids, since it requires us to cover a large amount of ground, so it's better that we do it when we're faster. When we warp back to where we started at Goo Lagoon this visit, we'll immediately cruise boost and bubble bash to grab the final sock, but then make our way to a nearby gate. Similar to the Murmelair boss fight, we're going to clip out of bounds using L-clipping, but this time it'll be done in combination with a trick where we jump and cruise bubble on the same frame, which is what lets us pop out of bounds after L-clipping here. This jump and cruise bubble tech is called L-jumping. Normally the spatula requires us to play as Patrick, where we'll spend some shiny objects to spawn trampolines for us to jump on to reach the spatula, but this is much faster. With the spatula collected, the sponge performs a Red Bull leap, blowing kisses to his fans along the way, after which we'll warp to Jellyfish Fields, closing the book on Goo Lagoon. We've only been to Jellyfish Fields once so far this run at the very beginning to grab 1 sock and 1 spatula, so we have a lot of ground to cover here and we're gonna be here a while. After performing some cruise boosts, Shift performs some difficult bubble bashes to climb up some rocks and on top of a huge stone jellyfish to collect a sock. We then use some weird tree trampoline things to get across the level quickly to grab another sock, and let me just say that these trampolines do not do any wonders for my acrophobia. We aren't going to let this sock stop us, because we're on a sock spree and we'll immediately turn around and use the trampolines again to grab another nearby sock that's floating above a bowling minigame. For the final sock in this spree, we make a super tightly spaced jump to reach an island, being sure to not hit any checkpoints along the way on the islands we took to get here. That's because we immediately hop into the goo to spawn back on the mainland. After getting our cruise boost back up and running, Shift will make his way on over to a Duplicatotron where he'll jump towards the corner and spin. This both destroys the Duplicatotron and opens the gate simultaneously. We then activate the toll gate and glide into the spatula thanks to cruise boosting, letting us collect the spatula and skip the celebration animation by entering the next area. We then absolutely blast Mermaid Man in the face to start a cruise boost and begin a short tongue sliding section. I really am still not sure what else to call it. Anyways, whenever we tongue slide and are cruise boosted, we try to be in the air as much as possible because the cruise boost doesn't affect our speed when we're sliding. This is simply because sliding on a surface supersedes the cruise boost effect, so we just jump a ton to be off of the surface and have our cruise boost speed add on to our movement speed. Now off the slide, we platform around an invisible cutscene trigger and reunite with Dirty Dan real quick to transfer our consciousnesses and claim another golden spatula. This is intended to be the first area you play as Dirty Dan in, but we kinda did things out of order. Just by a little bit though. Our time as the star will be short-lived, because after booty bumping a switch and dismissing some tutorial pop-ups, we'll immediately switch back to the sponge and get back our fast movement speed with cruise boosting. We're going to bubble bash to get on top of a barrier and then just tightrope walk on top of it to skip needing to open it. We then bubble bounce to open up a different gate where we're going to start spelunking, and the sponge just can't wait as he shoves himself into the gate and then enters immediately on his own. Inside, we're going to use the Bubble Bowl ability to hit a button that we're supposed to throw watermelons at as Patrick, and then spin to hit the other button before performing a ledge cruise boost here by sliding off of the ledge of a rock and converting the speed of sliding off into cruised boost speed. Remember, we did a ledge cruise boost earlier in Sand Mountain. As we absolutely careen through the cave, we're going to grab one sock that's up on a ledge that requires us to turn around for a moment. This leads into a brief tongue sliding section where we're going to jump a lot to utilize our cruise boost speed, and once we make it to the end of the tongue sliding section, we'll bubble bounce straight into the goo to collect a sock and spawn back at a checkpoint we hit moments before. After we spawn and gain control again, we'll get our cruise boost going, and Shift will make some precise jumps onto and off of some stalagmite to grab a golden spatula. This jump to the spatula skips having to hit a button to lower the gate to let us jump to it. Once we collect the spatula, we treat the camera like we're Joaquin Phoenix signing off of a late night talk show. When we make it back to the main platform and exit outside, Shift is going to blast imposter crabs in the face to build up our speed again, and then make his way to perform a skip called Drain the Lake Clip, which utilizes a piece of tech called lag clipping. A property of cruise boosting is that landing after falling from a height doesn't reset your vertical velocity to 0, and it instead stays a downward value. After bubble bashing off of the fountain and landing, we then have a downward velocity while on the ground, and by angling the camera in a specific way to load in enough objects on screen, and rhythmically mashing the left trigger start button and select button, we clip into the ground and go under the map. After quickly maneuvering around some invisible barriers to grab a spatula, we then warp around the map a bit, having only 5 socks and 3 spatulas left to collect. Try to remember the fact I just mentioned about cruise boosting not resetting your vertical velocity, because it'll come in handy again soon. We warped to a spatula where we're Patrick, but that's just because the location is ideal, and we swapped straight back to SpongeBob. Once we're moving fast again, Shift performs a bubble bash to reach a high up ledge, and we'll throw a bubble bowl to destroy a nearby robot so it doesn't mess us up. After stepping onto the button with huge feet on it, 5 flying tiki heads spawn that we have to destroy with the cruise bubble to spawn a sock. This part is pretty straightforward, and once we're done, because we did the bubble bowl a moment ago to destroy the robot, it cancels our cruise boost, so we have to set it up again once we grab the sock after destroying all the tikis. Once boosted, we'll navigate around the corner of the Rocky Mountain and then thwack some robots to get them out of our way. We'll then climb up some rocks, perform a bubble bash, and then bubble bounce to extend our jump to make it to a bouncy tree trampoline mushroom thing, and this jump is actually really difficult. This puts us next to another sweaty sock, and we'll then make our way to another sock, followed by one of the remaining spatulas. Now, when we collect this spatula, Shift is going to make sure he's lined himself correctly going into it, so that's why we take a moment to approach from a specific angle and turn the camera a specific way. The reason for this is that close to the spatula is the entrance to Spork Mountain, which is a location we need to go to. By facing the direction of the entrance, once we collect the spatula, our cruise boost speed will slowly glide the sponge towards the entrance, and we'll be able to enter Spork Mountain the moment we gain control. At Spork Mountain, we'll walk past Bubble Buddy, and there's a moment where the sponge throws his hands up with the woo in the song. I love that. At the top of Spork Mountain, there's actually a boss fight against King Jellyfish. This boss fight is super straightforward now that we have the cruise bubble, and all we need to do is blast it 3 times. The CEO of the studio developing the upcoming remake of this game is actually a fan of speedrunning, and is aware of this exploit with how strong the cruise bubble is in this fight, so it's patched in the remake. The fight gave us the King Jellyfish Jelly, which we can bring to Squidward to soothe his wounds because he got attacked by robots and jellyfish all the way at the start of the run. We took a shortcut here by hopping off of the tongue track and landing on the track as it passes underneath us to get a sock, but for the most part this tongue section is pretty simple. At the end of the track, Shift makes a leap to a pillar directly in front of us to collect the 7th spatula in Jellyfish Fields, leaving just 1 more spatula and 1 more sock. To get the spatula, all we have to do is warp back to the squid guy and give him King Jellyfish's jelly, and he'll spork up the spatula, but not before we add injury to injury by cruise boosting in his face. The final sock in Jellyfish Fields isn't too far. All we have to do is jump space off of a ledge and spin to be able to reach the sock, which wraps up Jellyfish Fields, and we'll warp back to Bikini Bottom, where we already have all the spatulas, but still have 1 sock remaining to collect. And I bet you thought that we were going to collect it now. Nope, instead we're going to jump right into a taxi to take us to Kelp Forest, a new level for us in this run. Right away when we load in, we're going to cruise boost and then use our speed to reach a ledge that's supposed to be the very end of the level, and bubble bash to maneuver out of bounds briefly to get on some pillars. When we jump up to this ledge, we hit a trigger that spawns a trampoline back below, unlocking a shortcut to this ledge for later. Now remember a while ago when we saved Mrs. Puff's job and probably freedom by saving a bunch of kids floating away on balloons? Well, the menace that is Puff is at it again and has lost 6 campers in the Kelp Forest, and if we find them all, we get a golden spatula. After talking to Mrs. Puff to get the warp for this area, and because we're just over 50 minutes into the run, Shift enters the nearby Porto Head to take a quick potty break. Shift is then going to do some platforming to get to the 3rd camper, followed by dropping off of a ledge to grab a sock. You'll notice he falls super fast into the sock, and that's because like with lag clipping, we have stored downward vertical velocity from Shift jumping and landing once shortly before falling off of the ledge. It's pretty straightforward, and once he spawns back on the platform, he's going to drop off again to grab a spatula and warp back to the start of the area. By start of the area, I mean the very start of the level, which is where that ledge is that we jumped up to earlier when we hit a trigger to spawn a Dark Souls-esque trampoline shortcut and went out of bounds briefly, and we're going to use the toll gate to enter the intended final area of the level, the Kelp Vine Slide. We're actually at the bottom of the slide, so before even collecting the nearby spatula, we're going to hop in the box to go to the top and talk with Mermaid Man, who challenges us to beat his time in sliding down to the bottom of the slide, which spawns a timer in the top right corner of the screen. The timer will start once we hop onto the slide and start sliding, however Shift bubble bashes the moment he gets on the slide. This starts the timer but still lets Shift get off the slide and take the box back to the bottom, which counts as actually taking the slide down and beating Mermaid Man's time. Here we collected the spatula that was sitting there earlier and hit the trigger for completing the race before hopping back in the box to claim our prize for absolutely bodying the octogenarian in his paltry race. Shift angled the sponge to glide off the ledge as he celebrated, so we drop onto the slide for a huge shortcut while we collect a sock that's still on the slide. We'll continue on the Kelp Vine slide until we get the sock, and then immediately warp back to Mermaid Man at the top of the slide and use the nearby toll gate to enter the next area. When we first entered the Vine slide area, which is intended to be the final area, we began the process of what's referred to as Kelp Forest backward. Pretty much we're going through the areas backwards, so when we enter a new area, we're technically entering it through the exit. So we keep entering right next to the spatulas at the end of areas so we can collect them all quickly. Once we collect the spatula here at the end of the Kelp Caves, Shift will throw a bubble with an exact power level, angle, and position, and get hit with it while standing in a different exact position, which launches us through the gate. When he got hit by the ball, Shift had to perform a cruise bubble and bubble bowl on an exact frame so we had our frames with no collision to let us clip through the wall. Through the gate, Shift then discovers the fourth of 6 campers as well as finds the first of several energy crystals that we have to give to Barnacle Boy. Barnacle Boy is the holistic type and has 6 crystals that we need to collect and bring to him to get another spatula. Once we've warped to the start of Kelp Caves, we're on our quest to journey deep into the depths of the dark and perilous cave and find all the precious rocks, minerals. This whole interior cave section normally requires us to play as Patrick a lot, but we have different plans. After we collected crystals 2 and 3, Shift does a pretty cool jump off of the cage around a button to jump up onto a ledge with a sock, which sequence breaks the cave itself and brings us to a different region of the cave. Now in this tall room we're supposed to do some stuff with a button and all that's boring and slow, so instead Shift Spider-Mans up the walls by landing on specific parts of the texture which lets him continually bubble bash up to the top where another crystal awaits. This is a skip called Crystal Climb and is definitely one of the more difficult skips. In the next room, instead of hitting even more buttons, we instead climb up some more walls, which leads us to the penultimate crystal. We'll then get on the walls again and L-clip and L-jump to go out of bounds, where we'll drop beneath the final crystal and jump up to bonk it with our head and collect it. With all the crystals in hand, we warp back to Barnacle Boy and hand them over, and then whack him in the gut before collecting our spatula. The actual lore reason why he needs the crystals is he uses them to trim his nose hairs at super speed, and this is like legit lore, and not some bull about far apart nips. Shift will then exit the Kelp Caves through the entrance, which, thanks to Kelp Forest backward, puts us at the end of the Kelp Swamp. After we collect the spatula intended at the end of the area, Shift is going to drop down to a spatula that's inside of a cage, being sure to double jump on his way down to build up downward vertical velocity that gets stored thanks to cruise boosting. Normally you have to activate a button that's across the swamp to lift the cage, but by instead wedging himself between a rock and the cage and lag clipping, SpongeBob will clip through the cage just enough to interact with the spatula. This collects the spatula even though we also end up touching the goo underneath the ground and spawns us back where we started the area. This lag clip is stupid precise. Right now we still have 1 spatula, 3 socks, and 2 campers to find. That one final spatula is for finding the 2 final campers, so those go hand in hand. The first camper is guarded by a big spooky robot, so Shift aligns himself on the clam first so that when he bashes over the clam, he'll be perfectly set up to destroy the robot. The remainder of the swamp area though is pretty straightforward, with us mostly just bouncing around on the leaves to get to the 6 sock and camper, and skirting past a Burt Reynolds bot to find the last camper. Once we save the final camper, we'll then warp back to Mrs. Puff and talk with her to get our spatula in exchange for never telling anyone about the fact she lost 6 additional kids. The final sock is a bowling challenge, with us having to align our bowling shot to destroy every tiki head in one go. It's a pretty easy task for Shift though, since he's an accomplished bowler in real life and has bowled 6 USBC sanctioned perfect 300 games. Once we're awarded the sock, we're done with the kelp forest and warp back to the Bikini Bottom hub area. In the hub, we spawn right in front of the imposter, who we cruise boost off of, and then hit up the dumpster behind the Krusty Krab for the final sock in Bikini Bottom, which finishes off the collectibles in Bikini Bottom outside of the remaining spatulas at Patrick's Sock Exchange. This taxi pad takes us to the Flying Dutchman's graveyard, which is gated behind a 60 spatula requirement. Right at the start of the graveyard lake area, Shift cruise boosts and then completely disrespects the intended path by performing 2 extended jump sequences to make it to the first sock of the level. Back on land, Shift then fires a cruise bubble up to one big ol' hash that will then close and shut off the flow of the ectoplasmic goo that's filling up the lake. This causes the goo level in the lake to lower a bit, exposing some pathways, platforms, and spatulas. We then immediately drop down to one of these spatulas that's sitting on top of a ship. After the sponge blows us some kisses, we're going to hop onto a trampoline, and it's worth mentioning that jumping on certain trampolines with cruise boosting is actually really weird. Some trampolines in this game have a scripted direction you're supposed to bounce in, but cruise boosting overwrites that, which allows us to just jump into whatever direction we're facing. After walking on some walls like we're playing NFL Street 2, we make a couple more long jumps and run along the hull of a ship to make it to our second golden spatula of the level. After we spin in celebration for a moment, we're going to hop along the crow's nests of the ship and interact with the toll gate to go to the graveyard of ships. Right away, we're going to blast Squid Guy in the face to cruise boost and then collect a sock by bumping our head on the bottom of some wreckage. This is followed by jumping into a nearby Lazarus pit to grab a spatula that you're supposed to bungee jump to get, but because we disabled Hans the Hand at the start of the run, we can just leap in and grab it. This gives us our 69th spatula of the run, leaving only 31 to go. Shift then warps to the spatula we just collected, which brings us to the crow's nest that we were supposed to bungee jump from. Here we're going to do what we did in the caves at Jellyfish Fields and repeatedly bubble bash to climb up the side of a building, which makes up a skip called Boat Bash. This will bring us all the way to the top of the area where another spatula is waiting for us, which we collect while having a precise camera angle so we don't fall off of the cliff. Atop the stack of ships, we'll hop into a floating dinghy, bringing us to a combat set piece where we're normally supposed to play as Sandy a lot for her superior vertical movement. Because we're cruise boosting though, we're way more mobile as SpongeBob. There are 2 spatulas and 1 sock to collect here. One of the spatulas requires us to aim all 4 cannons on our ship to fire at the enemy ship, and to aim each of the cannons, Shift has to go around pressing the button next to each one. Once he aims the 4th and final cannon, a chest with a button will open and a spatula will appear, but we hold off on interacting with either for now. Instead, Shift uses a trampoline the moment it spawns to soar up to the crow's nest to grab a different spatula. On his way down from the mast, Shift will bounce off of the button in the chest to fire the cannons, activating a cutscene, all while gliding into the spatula that spawned a moment ago so we collect it while the cutscene is playing, more efficiently utilizing our time. Collecting the spatula is also really precise and feel-based and a lot harder than it looks. As you can see in this cutscene, our volley gets destroyed by the enemy defenses, but that's fine. The purpose of this fight is to unlock the ability to warp to the final boss fight against the Flying Dutchman, but you actually only need to fire at the enemy ship to unlock the warp and not necessarily destroy the enemy ship. After hopping over to the enemy ship to collect the final sock of the level, we warp to the typically terribly slow boss fight. Instead of doing the Flying Dutchman fight, we're going to perform Dutchman Skip, a skip that's similar to the skip we did earlier to avoid the fight in the Mermalair. By bubble bashing with precise alignments and movements, we get up high enough on the shipwreck where when we jump off we hit a developer debug trigger that automatically ends the fight and spawns a spatula as a reward. The climbing area was wholly out of bounds and we actually can't even access it as Sandy. With 7 of the 8 spatulas in hand, we hop into a nearby dinghy to head back to the graveyard lake. When we spawn in, we're going to collect the spatula in a cage we saw in a cutscene after we lowered the goo by hopping on top of the cage and lag clipping. With everything collected in the Flying Dutchman's graveyard, we can cross it off our list and travel back to the Bikini Bottom. We won't be staying in Bikini Bottom long, because we'll immediately jump onto a nearby taxi pad to go to downtown Bikini Bottom. This is supposed to be one of the first places we go to, being gated behind a requirement of only 5 spatulas. Typically it requires you to play as Sandy a lot and serves as a bit of an introduction to her as a character, but with cruise boosting, we completely cut her out of the picture like an ex after a bad breakup. The first objective we're going to complete is getting rid of the cannon that's throwing the kitchen sink at us. Normally you'd bait the cannon into firing at the tiki pillars to destroy them, but with cruise boosting, we can bubble bash up to the top of the pillars to activate the thunder tikis, and by going around the whole circle, we'll have destroyed all the towers and revealed all the buttons. Once all buttons are pressed, a totally not random anvil will drop from the sky and onto the cannon, spawning a spatula on top of the nearby statue. You'll notice that Hans the Hand grabs us at this point, and you may be asking how that's possible if we disabled him earlier. Well, if you think back to the start of the run when we first went out of bounds but had to keep jumping, Hans is only disabled with the out of bounds in air triggers, not the ones on the sand. So by gliding out of bounds due to cruise boosting after pressing the final button, we were on the sand for long enough to trigger Hans, which actually re-enables him as a whole. After collecting our 75th spatula, we then make our way over to a submarine-looking building to grab a sock, because every boot has a sock in it. Shift then skirts around the robot to get its positioning right, and bubble bashes to get up onto the building before leaping to a tiki and then a ledge of a building for another sock. Anyways, Mrs. Puff has continued her bad habit of losing things, as she somehow misplaced 11 steering wheels all around downtown Bikini Bottom, and we have to do her dirty work again before she gets busted for trying to sell them to a chop shop. After collecting our second spatula, we're going to immediately enter the downtown rooftops. Up here we're going to bounce on a button to spawn a trampoline that was installed onto the building when it was being built, and use it to bounce all the way up to the top of the building to grab a golden spatula. We're going to make good use of this trampoline though, and use it again almost right after we gain control to get on top of a propeller to grab a conveniently placed sock. Now there are a lot of collectibles on the rooftops, and luckily if we fall off of the rooftops, Hans will grab us since we re-enabled him a bit ago. This is lucky because it allows for us to hit checkpoints like we do here, collect objects, and then make our leap of faith before Hans catches us, which lets us quickly backtrack across the level. After we spawn back in here, we'll be collecting our third and fourth steering wheel and another sock. After the sock, Shift is going to run off of a building to be caught by Hans. When spawning back in, Shift will then manually bull on the first frame of respawning. When you spawn in this game, you spawn at the start of the level, and then in one frame you get moved to your most recent checkpoint location. During this one frame we have a ton of velocity, so by using Bubble Bowl on this frame, this velocity gets transferred to our bowling shot and we go shooting across the map. It's at our destination that we set up our cruise boost again and grab another sock, and then hop to a nearby building to grab a spatula. When we grab the spatula, Shift tries his hardest to keep us from falling by zooming and angling the camera precisely so we don't lose both our cruise boost and our positioning. We then hop to the neighboring building to enter a lighthouse. Rather than feuding with Willem Dafoe, instead we're going to collect a sock and then destroy a series of Duplicatotrons. Each time after we destroy one, the floor beneath us will break, dropping us to the next floor. Shift has done this segment once or twice in the past, so he knows exactly where the next Duplicatotron is on the floor below him. On the bottom floor we collect a steering wheel through some electric beams by just standing close enough to the electric beams that the wheel gets sucked into us thanks to our magnetically charming good looks. Across the room, some small robots push us into the electric beams while we cruise bubble, which gives us frames with no collision for long enough for the robots to actually push us through the electric beams to collect the spatula. This is our 5th of 8 spatulas in the level, and we also have 5 of 11 steering wheels and 6 of the 9 socks collected. After warping to outside, Shift is going to blast his Teach in the face to get the cruise boost back up and running, and then collect 2 nearby steering wheels real quick before leaping over a fence. This brings us to the steaming hot sauce area, where we're just going to collect a handful of additional steering wheels and a couple of socks. And there really isn't too much more to this spot outside of the fact that by jumping over the fences, we're skipping tutorials for using SpongeBob and Sandy. Just some casual hopping around to grab the objects in what's really supposed to be an area that's supposed to get you used to SpongeBob mechanics and timer challenges in the game. Once we've collected all we need to here, Shift is going to open up a gate to travel to the Sea Needle. I know it's only for a 1/10 of a second, but just listen to how off Imposter Crab sounds when we load in, and it really is a shame because up top on the Sea Needle, we're actually going to be doing a favor for the imposter. According to the imposter, someone's broken the Sea Needle, and if we destroy all the tiki heads outside the windows by bungee jumping, the imposter will give us a spatula. In total, there are 3 windows that we need to bungee jump out of to dive down and destroy the tikis, and the act of bungee jumping here and destroying this series of tikis is called Cruise Boost Needle, CB Needle for short. While doing this all, we're on a cycle of the tiki heads moving, so trying to not mess up anywhere along the way is added pressure, otherwise we get thrown off of the cycle. This also means that our cruise boost needs to be hit first try, otherwise all the timing gets messed up. Similar to scripted trampolines, getting off of bungee hooks has a scripted direction and movement to it that cruise boosting overwrites. This means that if we're still facing away from the needle when we get off a hook, we're going to continue moving that way instead of automatically getting brought back inside. Because of this, we have to turn inward before getting off of the bungee, otherwise we'll fall and can lose over a minute. The first two windows have a pretty small amount of tikis to destroy, but the third has a few extra that require some additional dives and a bit more aiming on Shift's part. Additionally, the two final steering wheels are up here in the sea needle, so we collect those along the way. Once we finished up the 3 bungee jumps and collected the wheels, the golden spatula will spawn up here for us to collect. If you thought that was all for the sea needle though, you must be a real pinhead. There's actually one more spatula up here as well as the final sock of downtown Bikini Bottom. Shift opens this door by blasting a switch through a wall with a frame perfect input. After collecting the sock, we then use our cruise bubble to hit a switch that spawns the final spatula up here. When Shift goes to grab the spatula, he's going to bubble bounce to fall down faster, so we get brought back in bounds by Hans earlier. After we load back in, we're then going to warp back to Mrs. Puff, having collected all the steering wheels, all the socks, and 7 of the 8 spatulas. When we speak with the felon, we're going to be given the final collectible in downtown Bikini Bottom and then immediately warp back to the Bikini Bottom hub, where we're going to take a taxi to go to Rock Bottom. When entering the taxi pad, we're going to jump off of the trampoline because remember, by accessing the taxi pad from closer to the rear, it partly skips the taxi cutscene. When we load into Rock Bottom, we'll see none other than Mrs. Puff, who this time needs us to collect. Are you fucking serious? Stolen artwork. After we collect the first of 6 pieces of art, we're going to fire a cruise bubble to hit a button across the level that starts a race down a slide. You're supposed to hit this button when you're actually at the top of the slide, but an oversight in development left the button available to being hit by cruise bubbles if you're standing in earlier parts of the level. Hitting the button spawned the reward spatula and brought up a timer that won't start since we aren't actually hopping on the slide. On our way to the spatula, Shift talks with Bubble Buddy real quick to get a warp point for later, and also collects 2 of the 9 socks that are in Rock Bottom. Also, it's just dawned on me that the art they show in the bottom left corner whenever we collect a piece is a picture of SpongeBob and Patrick, which is a bit weird in universe that we have to collect 6 pieces of the same image that have been stolen from a nearby museum, and they're all of those 2. After we've collected the slide spatula, we warp back to Bubble Buddy and set up our cruise boost again before then hopping on top of a nearby rock and collecting our second piece of art. Shift will then hop onto a trampoline to leap on over to a nearby spatula, giving us 2 of the 8 in this level. This spatula is actually only supposed to be obtainable as Sandy, and look at the shadow of it as it spins. Pretty suggestive, huh? So a lot of this level actually takes place inside of the museum that the art has been stolen from, so Shift will make his way on over there now, collecting a sock along the way. There's actually a spatula on top of the museum next to the vent we're going to enter through, and Shift will press the button to enter the museum the exact frame he touches the spatula. This has us both enter the museum and collect the spatula without having to go through the animation of collecting it. This is called R canceling. Inside the museum, there's a wall of lasers that you normally have to disable, but by grabbing onto the ledge of the swinging tires, we can pass through the wall, taking a bit of damage along the way. Once we're through the laser wall, rather than recreating the scene from the Resident Evil movie, we can still move around and collect everything inside the museum. In total, there's 3 socks, 2 pieces of art, and 1 spatula. We only collect 2 of the socks initially though because the third is underneath the platform we spawned on when we entered, and we didn't collect it then for positioning and health reasons. I also want to just acknowledge real quick that we're in Rock Bottom, and I've yet to make an accent joke, but I think my current accent is bad enough that I won't torture you with the one from the show. Once we yoink the second piece of art, we'll have everything on this side of the laser wall, so Shift will warp back to the entrance and hop underneath the platform to grab the third sock in the museum. He then immediately warps to the slide spatula that we collected, putting us at the top of the slide by imposter crabs. We aren't here long though because we're immediately going to head on over to a toll gate to take us to the Trench of Advanced Darkness. This is actually the exit of the Trench of Advanced Darkness though, so that means that when we load in, we're going to be at the end of the area and immediately collect the spatula you get for conquering the trench. Shift then warps to the spatula we just collected, which puts us at the start of the trench. The platforming we do here is minimal, so we don't cruise boost at all because it'd be a waste of time. Instead, we hop onto a ledge to collect the 5th piece of art, and then take damage to perform Sleepy Skip, which is a sliding bash used to make the jump to the spatula, giving us 6 of 8 collected. Shift is then going to start up his cruise boost again, standing on a ledge made by the texture of the wall to seemingly float in midair while doing so. After getting back on solid land and collecting a sock, we make our way over to a clam to spawn a bungee jumping hook so we can get a sock in a moment. Shift also cancels his cruise boost so we don't fall off the ledge while firing a cruise bubble over to hit a button to activate a laser. In total, there are 3 lasers that we have to activate in this area, and we're supposed to activate them as Sandy. Instead, Shift just uses our sponge abilities, but the timing on it is incredibly tight. Just watch the timer in the bottom right corner and see how close it gets to 0 when we hit the button on the second shot in about 20 seconds. Also, I'm super embarrassed to admit this, but due to an error in recording and editing, a sock we're supposed to collect on the upcoming platform with the trampoline is absent from the gameplay, but trust me, it's supposed to be there, but we already have it collected. My bad on that one, everyone. Also, right here is the second cruise bubble shot, so watch the timer in the bottom right corner to see how close it is. For the final laser, Shift is going to align himself on a nearby pipe or bubble stream or whatever it is and hit it with the bubble instead of hitting it with his wand. This is because it gives him time to then throw another bubble right afterwards to fall off the ledge and get caught by Hans right as a cutscene starts, skipping the cutscene of the final laser powering up. After spawning back in, we switch to Sandy real quick so that we can talk to Plankton to claim our spatula reward for powering on the lasers. Not entirely sure how I feel accepting this blood spatula from the creature that is directly responsible for all the robots being everywhere, but I guess without him, we wouldn't have experienced the adventure we went on today. After this spatula, Shift will warp back to Mrs. Puff to claim our final reward of the run from the Shady Teacher, which also marks the final collectible in Rock Bottom, finishing the area as a whole. We're getting super close to the end of the run, but before we finish it off, we have a bit of unfinished business in the SpongeBob's Dream level. We still have 2 spatulas and 2 socks to get here, and the first sock and spatula combo are in Squidward's part of the Dream level. Instead of grooving out on the sheet music all the way up, we utilize our increased jump distance to use drum trampolines to jump from one section of sheet music to passing by sections above us that normally we can't skip to. In total, we skip up 3 floors of sheet music, collecting a sock after the second skip. Once we make it to the top floor, we hop on top of the schnoz and collect the spatula, leaving just 1 sock and spatula in SpongeBob's Dream, with that last sock being the last one in the entire run. Remember, we still have to exchange the ones on our person with Patrick for spatulas though. Speaking of Patrick, we then warp to Patrick's Dream inside of SpongeBob's Dream. The only reason we visit Dream Patrick is because his house is near to the final sock and spatula, so we just exit immediately. The location of the final sock and spatula is inside of the Imposter Crab's Dream area, and when we load in, we hold down pause while skipping Squid Guy's text to buffer pulling up the menu where we reload the level. Upon reloading, Shift holds the control stick in the northeast direction and presses the button to skip text, followed by the button to bubble bowl on the frame immediately after. This caused us to fall off the ledge and skip a cutscene and also started an invincibility timer. We then used Cruise Bubble immediately after, which paused the invincibility timer, giving us a bunch of invincibility frames so we can just cheese the combat area by firing Cruise Bubbles to destroy the Duplicatotrons. Once all the Duplicatotrons are out of the way, we slowly make our way all the way across the grill because there's a sock on a floating tiki head off the far edge that we can grab once we clear out all the robots. After the final robot is destroyed, the spatula spawns and Shift collects the sock before warping back to the spatula to grab it quickly. This marks the last sock in SpongeBob's Dream, the last golden spatula in SpongeBob's Dream, and the last sock in the game. We're then going to warp back to Patrick in the beginning area of the game and trade all of our socks for spatulas with Patrick. This will bring us to 98 total spatulas, leaving 2 remaining in the whole game, which are both inside of the Chum Bucket Lab. There's still a few minutes left in the run, but we have a brief moment here, so I'd just like to say thank you to all of you who continue to support the channel on Patreon. It's totally not necessary, especially with what's going on in the world, but I really do appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, this is definitely one of the best ways to do it. It also grants you early access to videos, updates on videos as they're being made, and the occasional Fanfiction Friday video. Like I said before, it's totally not necessary, but to those of you who choose to support the channel in this way, it really means a lot. Back to the run. Once we're done getting these socks off our hands, we're going to warp to the Chum Bucket lab and use our excessive amount of spatulas to enter the door to the lab, which is gated behind a 75 spatula requirement. The Chum Bucket lab consists of 2 big set pieces, the first of which is a boss fight against a Robo SpongeBob. This fight has 3 phases, but we're not even going to finish the first phase in this fight. After we hit Robo SpongeBob with 2 cruise bubbles and a Robot Plankton with 1, the Robo Sponge adds a vertical karate chop to its arsenal. Shift baits the metallic sponge to karate chop the left side of the platform we spawned on and utilizes the spinning of the platform to jump up and hit a debug trigger above us to skip the fight. Once the fight ends, we'll be brought inside of the giant robot and are tasked with destroying its brain. This consists of destroying 3 fuses and tunnels that you have to fire cruise bubbles down. Shift utilized his cruise boosted speed to bounce on the far edge of a scripted trampoline to launch ourselves up onto the edge of the robot brain. Normally you're not supposed to be able to run down the pathways to the fuses, however Shift can L-clip, L-jump, and grab-clip into each of the 3 tunnels to destroy each of the 3 fuses and finish out the run. Once we destroy the 3rd and final fuse, the boss fight is over, we're awarded our 100th spatula, and the run officially ends. If you somehow made it to the end of the video, I'd like to say thank you on behalf of both myself and Shift. This run really just has so much to it, and the original script for this video was well beyond the length of any script I've ever written before, even longer than my video covering the Fallout Anthology speedrun, just because there's so much to talk about in this game. If you're interested in learning about this game as a speedrun even further, I highly recommend you watch the recent and first installment of the Any% World Record History series that's over on Shift's channel. That's about all for this video though. Let me know your thoughts on it by either leaving a comment below or joining my Discord server and leaving feedback in the video discussion channel, link is in the description. This was a 100% speedrun of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. I've been Tomato Anus, and I hope you have an above average day.
Not the YouTube. Can I just go for... Oh shit! See? Look what I did. It's right over there. Can I get it from over here? I don't know. I think I have to go this way. Driving through like a suburban neighborhood. It's fucking 5 in the morning. Whoa. SimCity says you shouldn't do stuff like that. Oh fuck. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. It's not my truck. Not my truck, not my problem. Ding. Oh, sorry, I'm in a hurry now. I wanna fucking not do that. I need to listen to, some, like, strategies on what the smartest thing to do. For now, we'll just do that again. When we're done with this, yeah. 400,000 errors. we'll just play a little bit of
A
more.
nuisance, we head back outside and walk on over to Dirty Dan, who's put a sock out
Just
on
get out
display
the
for us
truck
to
and walk away. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get out the truck. We getting out the truck. This game. No, not in VR. Oof. I like how it's like, you want to play that in VR, Stinky? Hunting ghosts. And a bag of chips. Huh, my description's never changed.
Welcome back. I've got some jobs ready for you.
Yo, something's wrong. That's not the... How you been? I've been okay. What chips? Popcorners. Phasmophobia. Something's wrong with that. White cheddar popcorners. Huh. Now that is a problem. Phasmophobia. Very narrow.
Welcome back. I've prepared some jobs for you.
Screen. Pop. Hey. Sorry, SpongeBob, you gotta go away, man. It's gotta get spooky. What is that? Oh, I know what that's supposed to be. I'm not interested in having that up. You can gift a game to a viewer again if drunk. I don't know. Maybe eventually. Like if streaming or YouTube were to ever pop off, it's like, oh yeah, all the time. It's like that's super easy way for people to be like, oh man, yeah, I'm gonna watch this guy, just cause he's giving away shit. I wanna give away shit. Oh, listen to that. Hello, what the fuck? Oh wow. I tore off the USB thing. That's not good. It's not the end of the world, but it's not good. Like you did in Unturned. I don't even remember. I gave you Left 4 Dead. Yeah, Fit Riffy. It really was Fit Riffy. Yeah, what do we give him? It's Left 4 Dead. And I don't even think he even played. I don't think he ever even played. What a waste of $19. Oh, I need to pick that shit back up. Oh, it was a good night. I miss. Yikes. There we go. I'm gonna hook that on the other side. There we go. Yeah, it definitely kept Fit Riffy coming back. It wasn't because of the content. He was like, I need a game. I think he had like a fucking laptop or something, so he couldn't even like play. Alright. I had to put the keyboard away. Or the keyboard, the steering wheel. God damn it! What does that? Oh, that's what does it. Here we go. God, they have so many fucking options. There's no like drop down menu. I have to keep scrolling all the way to mine. There we finally are. Do bap boop. Super resolution. Balanced skylight. Sure. Fog quality high. Shadows soft. Crank those graphics, man. Oopsie daisy. What's the best? I don't fucking even know. No worries. Alright. Family still have like 9 dogs? No.
I've gathered a list of other hunters asking for help.
No, but my mom is raising quails now, which is just fucking ridiculous. Private Max player's preferred language. English. Yeah, it started off like kind of simple with just a couple of quails, and then it got to be like crazy after she decided she wanted to breed like quails, and we're up to like 40 now, and it's not okay. It is not okay. 'Cause it's like you can step through the front door of our house and smell it. Oh, okay. No shit. So Nightmare was already a thing, but now there's Insanity, which is just bonkers. Yeah, she did get the pig. She did get the pig, but we got rid of the pig. Thank goodness. Not sure.
Hello, hello.
Oh, hello. I don't even know what to do. Contract. We'll go to Tanglewood Drive. Nice and simple. Oh, no. Just, we'll do... Wait, really? Oh, because they have basements. We'll do Tanglewood Drive, yeah. I don't know what my fucking push to talk button is. This is why I wanted to play this game, so I can interact with others. Alright, hello. Hi, hello.
This is your first time playing?
Not my first time playing, but it's been a long fucking time. Like before the updates and stuff like that, so I'm not necessarily versed with like the level 1 weapons. I'm ready. Dad's doing okay. Dad's doing okay. Crazy.
I'm already up.
Just going crazy.
Really?
It's hard to like articulate, but I like that sound. Because like his back's getting worse and his
Where'd the
mental
cable
health is
go?
clearly deteriorating. Okay,
You need.
how are they allowed to vote? I hate that.
Where's this Kobo go? The K074VA.
Good
I
question.
don't even see him.
Yeah, for real, they're not.
How is he in there?
Oh yeah, kick his ass. I was wondering what was going on. Oh, they're actively joining, that's the issue.
Is it glitched?
No, he's here. See? Ready up, friends. Yeah, everything's going okay. I started a new job. I picked up a job as a revenue auditor. It's like, that's interesting. It's interesting. It's not necessarily like a career, but it's definitely a damn good job. Motherfucker.
Welcome back. I've prepared some jobs for you.
Welcome back. I've prepared some
Looks
jobs
like there
for
are
you.
others out there in need of help.
Huh. Yeah, it's like, I hate that you can vote on it. You can all vote on it. That's so goofy. Ghost hunting intern, thank goodness. Cool. I'd rather be the ghost hunting intern. What is that? I don't know what that is. I don't want it. I don't want it! Okay. Yeah, I only want level 1 stuff or something like that. Failed to load. No more grocery store. Oh yeah, no, I worked at a casino. God damn it, I just clicked leave. I worked at a casino
Welcome
as a
back.
dishwasher, so it's like that
for you.
wasn't very prestigious or anything. And then I worked at a GameStop, and that was just like dog shit. But one of my buddies that I
Gathered a
worked with
list
as
of
a
other hunters
dishwasher,
asking for help.
private off, bam, boom, bing, bong, Brazilian Portuguese. Yeah. My buddy got me in, and it's a good job. It pays better than the grocery store started off with, so that's convenient. That's really nice. Yeah, I'll just be that. So I'm gonna be making more money than I was able to start back on mine. Yeah, back in mine. Oh, sick. Daily tasks. There we go. Keyboard was doing some shit. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing real good. Ready to. Oh, yo, we got some ghost hunting interns. We're ready to party.
We got some experience.
need super expensive gear. We just need some cheap stuff. We just need some cheap stuff.
yeah.
Only
Right.
cheapskates say that.
I am a cheapskate. Everything that's offered up right now, that's all my stuff.
Damn.
It's
Is
like,
it also like your way
like
of life?
financially career. Hell no. Financially, career is going okay.
You like waiting in the front of the KFC, like waiting till everyone's finished, and then goes away. Then you go run up to their food if they left something behind.
Man, don't call me out like that. You don't need to tell others.
I have 0 food. I can't even.
You also dig in trash cans if you have the time.
I mean, I think everybody, dabbles in trash can diggery.
I've been big.
Hey, you'd save that trash talk for the ghosts.
Right?
No, but no jokes. There are people like looking for plastic bottles and stuff like that because it's now 10 cents worth or some shit.
Oh,
Even
yeah,
those
yeah.
what's it called, energy cans. It's kind of weird, man.
Oh yeah.
Like over here where I come from, you'll see a grandma like randomly digging in a trash can in the middle of nowhere
That's
or in front of your school. Like it's a normal song for them, but like
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
about that sort of thing.
people. Are
you
weird.
also smoke weed or something.
Hey, don't, like I said, don't call me out, man. You guys asking
do
I'm
me.
just
Okay.
asking. Also, I didn't notice this, but you guys are like newborn babies. Your level is so minor. Should be illegal.
This guy's a fucking.
So awesome.
Alright, now that spaz is out of here.
Dude.
He seemed like a nice guy, just.
It was a bit odd.
Yeah, you just had to keep going on about like unimportant things, and we were all ready to party, and that guy just like hung out and didn't fucking do anything. All right, here we go. God damn. Yeah, no, I still talk to the guys every now and then. We like to play some games and shit, mostly League of Legends, and it's like I just hate fucking League of Legends so much now. I can't tolerate that bullshit. Ooh, we know who has the slow computer.
Let's go SSDs.
Yeah, baby. What?
But that was really awkward coming to your room and then hearing all that stuff.
No, not at all.
We've arrived. Check the equipment and get set up before investigating. Nothing to report, but it looks like whoever was here left in a hurry.
Yeah, this is some great equipment.
Yeah, thanks for adding your own.
Dude, I'm broke.
Where's the breaker?
Basement.
I found
Basement. Oh, B is for walkie-talkie. Basement.
it. Power's on.
Outside is on.
Give us a sign.
Yeah.
Give me a sign. Are you there? Give me a sign. Give me a sign. Are you here? Nothing. This guy's a jerk. I think I heard a plate. Oh, hey, look, the cup fell.
Are you here?
What's your name?
Give us a sign.
Give us a sign.
How old
Give
are
us
you?
Give us your social security number.
Ghost.
Hello. Give me a sign. What's your name?
Ghost.
Okay, some dog shit. They got all the good stuff. So the camera's really only good for looking around. Show me a sign.
Give us a sign.
Oh yeah, breathing cold right in here. We're breathing cold.
Are you sure it's below 0 though?
No, but it could be cold.
Did it break something?
Yeah, I heard a light break. It was scary. My balls started
That's not
going.
good.
That bop.
Yeah, the dining room light broke.
Oh, okay. I see what you got there. Let's go. See, let's go. Well, it's your monkey paw. What do you want to ask it?
I wish for knowledge.
Oh, that sucks. It's such a bummer.
It's really true that I can't hear shit and I can't see shit.
Can't hear shit and you can't see shit. He's dead. You good, fam? Yeah, that's not good. Oh, it's just me and him. Huh. freezing.
I wish for life.
Scared the fuck out of me.
Well, my wish came true. I don't know if they're alive or not.
Oh no, they left.
Oh, they just left.
Yeah, and we're insane. Yeah, we're the only ones here, darn it. Well, I'm going back for more info. We got this, we got this. I'm dead. I'm dead. Oof. I made it just in time. Oh, my mom went gambling. Oof. What the fuck?
Alright, that's done.
Whew, that was so scary. It's knocking plates and shit all over the place. Just swung a door open.
Door's open. I'm back at the...
It keeps turning off lights and shit. Okay, I got my handprints on the door. Well, damn. Oh, damn. He's gonna be like, time to go.
Well, I'm gonna put a mirror just in case.
I don't know what it was.
Welcome back. There's some jobs ready for you.
Darn. So it was a haunt you. You know, if I would have guessed it, I would have been okay.
Hello.
Yep.
What's yep?
I'm never using the monkey paw again. That thing's so
Oh,
stupid.
oh, hello, sorry. Yeah.
No,
monkey paw.
you're good, you're good.
No, monkey paw.
Monkey paw.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the monkey paw?
paw?
With no equipment, I couldn't see jack.
Hey, you, bro, you. What are you doing here? How'd you get in? What's your name? Identify yourself. Who are you?
What's your registry with the Ghost Foundation, sir?
What's your ID number? What?
Oh, ghost orbs.
What the fuck is Radu?
Oh, that one does ghost orbs.
Radu.
Can I suck on your tits?
Whoa! I'm a minor.
Can I suck your toes? Are you lying to me? I'm not a minor.
Okay, so we got like one of everything for fun. Cool.
Are you a minor?
Like, do I go into the ground and dig minerals?
Yeah? Are you a minor?
You know, I've considered it. It seems like a great way to like get into like metallurgy as a hobby.
True. You can get some golds or diamonds, right? This guy says he's a minor, but I don't believe him.
Like what? Like
You see him? He's not wearing a helmet. He's not holding a pickaxe. Like, this guy is just a fucking phony.
I left my gear at home. What are you talking about?
Fuck you, phony. You're not a minor.
yeah, he kind of real for that one. Yeah, much love, bro.
Are you a minor? Choji?
I'm getting invested in the
My
minor
people build your
conversation.
railroads, yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
My people.
This
have
guy
been
said
building
the minor. He's
railroads
not a fucking
before.
minor. Look at him. Fucking ass.
That's what they
He's
call
he's just an asshole, dude. Look, he's got no arms, no legs, no head. He's literally just a fucking asshole. Look at that. Dude, here, shove this flashlight in his ass. Come on. This guy's a fucking fraud. Look at him. Call the FBI on him. Who are you? What's your name? Ayo Rust?
Oh, he headbutted you. That's assault. Yeah, he's just fucking wasting everybody's time. I knew it was that fucker.
Hey, Saint, hello.
Hey. Hi, hello. Greetings. Yeah, he's like, let me add all this bullshit. Yeah, like, I wish you could, have, like...
YOLO.
hi, hello. Hello.
Yo.
Yep. Here we go.
Alright, we're here. Take a look at the equipment and prepare accordingly before starting the investigation. Had no reports of violence, but keep an eye out.
I've always always love that. Just the
EMF, camera, and a torch.
I found a bone.
Take a knife, bro. Parabolic.
Oh hell yeah! I love taking pictures of bones.
Bro.
Oh, this is the microphone thing. No dodge. Was that dots? No. That may have been the dots. I can go from room to room with that. There we go. Are you here? Give me a sign. Hello, where are you? Are you here? Give me a sign. What's your name? Are you here? What's your name? Okay. Are you in here? What's your name? Are you in here?
Hello? Are you here? Are you near? Are you far? Are you close? Are you male? Are you female? Are you nice? Are you male? Are you mean? Are you near? Are you far? Are you close? Am I alone? Where are you? How are you? When are you? What are you?
Are you here?
Where are you from? What is your name?
Are you here? Are you here? What's your name? Are you mean? Why are you here? Are you here? Why are you here? What is your name? Are you here? What is your name? Do you have balls? Oh, he took that one. Okay. Yeah, that's the right idea. Wow. And, where's one of these? Oh, that's a microphone. Okay, yeah, I'll set up a microphone or two. Okay. Then I'll also take a couple of those. A motion sensor. Does anyone have a thermometer? Also, yeah, could you be my light? I'm gonna put down these things. Oh, there you go. Take a picture of that phone. Slam. Da 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 da. Hmm.
I got UV.
Oh, you guys are getting voices in the green bedroom and upstairs hallway. Oh, there they go left. I think I heard footsteps.
Take up microphone and incense if you can.
I was taking the cross. This guy's crazy. It's out of the room now. It's kicking a shoe around quite a bit. Freezing temperature. Uh-oh.
Get it to AMF at once. Maybe it's a twin.
I wonder if we can get a fingerprint or something.
What do you want? Are you here? Are you here? What do you want? Oh, fingerprints. Nice.
Welcome back. I've prepared some jobs for you.
Okay.
Welcome back. I've got some jobs ready for you. I've gathered a list of other hunters asking for help.
That game doesn't exist anymore.
possible. Yeah, they're all. Yeah, they're all level 1? Like, real?
Hey, I just haven't played since all this update bullshit. Also, I don't know why it says I'm level 1. I swear I've leveled up a couple times.
What the hell?
Oh no.
Parker, ready up. Ready up. You're not ready.
Ready up? Roger, ready, Roger, ready. Insanity, bro.
Welcome back. There's some jobs ready for you. Looks like there are others out there in need of help.
हाँ कर दो एक सेकंड मैसेज नहीं कर रही तुम खबर नहीं क्या
Welcome back. I've got some jobs ready for you. I've gathered a list of other hunters asking for help.
She killed me. She killed me.
She killed you?
Okay. I'm done.